Okay, I'm looking here at a Greyhound market, and what I'm going to do is just create some automation on the Greyhounds. Things to know about the Greyhound racing. They start UK time about 11 o'clock in the morning. They go on until about sort of 10ish at night, and there are generally about 100 of them over the course of the day. So the scale of the markets isn't huge in terms of liquidity. You'll probably get about 15 to 20,000 per race, apart from the big feature races where that number gets much higher. But it's the sheer quantity of them which is where the opportunity exists. So let's go into the automation area, and to do that we need to go to Guardian. So if I click on here, this is Guardian, and what we're going to do is add in all of the Greyhound races. So that's obviously the first step that we need to embark upon. You can see here the previous race produced about volume of about 15,000. The races come thick and fast. You can see here 4 minutes past 12, and then there's a gap of 8 minutes, and then there's a gap of 6 minutes, and then there's a gap of 9 minutes, and then 5 minutes, and so on. So if you're going to automatically switch between markets, the best thing is to have a short switching time. You'll also find liquidity comes in really late on the Greyhounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to plump for a switch time of 180 seconds. So basically, BetAngel will switch automatically from the current market we're looking at to the next one when it's 3 minutes out. And that will give us enough time to be active on the market, but also not to switch too early or at a time interval that's not appropriate. So we're going to switch at 3 minutes, and that's what we've set or created the setting for there. Never forget, in advanced settings, if you restrict refresh, you may have to uncheck that. But whenever you do any changes in settings, what you can always do is go into the settings editor, and then you can actually save those out as new settings. So if we go into there and we can say Greyhound trading, then any settings that we modify from here, whether it's in Guardian or on the main application, will automatically default settings that you've created. And the idea behind this is that when you find something that works, you save your settings, you save the screen profile, you save all of the information in Guardian, and that means that you just need to click on a drop down box to be able to bring those settings back to life again. And that will reduce the number of errors that you make, because if you're trying to trade Greyhounds with the settings you have in horse racing, that's could be a bit of a mare. So make sure you pay attention to do that. So we need to create the rules file. So I'll go down here and we'll create, because obviously these races are going to get underway before we get the chance to create the file. And if I go into automation, we can create a basic Greyhound bot, a grey bot. So to do that, we've selected a market, create new rules for selected market. That brings up the dialog box, and then we have to decide what we're going to do. So one of the characteristics of the market is liquidity comes in late, and the book values generally quite high until the off, and as the money arrives late, the book value shrinks. So for that reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by placing a lay bet. So I'll call this element of the rule place a lay bet, and rather surprisingly we're going to place a lay bet. We're going to do that relative to the start time, and because liquidity arrives really late, we're going to do that a couple of minutes before the event is due to start, and then we're going to stop doing that at 15 seconds before the off. You can see here that on this particular occasion, and in these Greyhound markets in general, the Greyhounds aren't ordered in order of favoritism. So when we set up the rule for the automation, we should place that on the basis of favoritism. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Let me just bring this back to the top level here, or pin that to the top. In fact, what I'll do here as well is actually it's not going to switch for a few seconds anyway. I was just thinking it's going to switch in the background while we're trying to create this rule. That may be a bit distracting, but I've pinned it to the top now anyway. So anyway, we need to place it in order of favoritism. We're going to allow this rule to trigger 100 times and wait 5 seconds between triggering. And rather than saying this place a lay bet applies to row 1 in the Betfair order, because the order of favoritism changes on a Greyhound race, we're going to place the bet according to favoritism. So we want it to be on the favorite, so we're going to say place a lay bet by position, sorted in order of favoritism, on position 1, in other words, the favorite. And that will place a lay bet. So that puts a bet in the market, but we need to decide, what is the characteristic of that bet. So if we go to parameters, I'm going to say place a lay bet, custom ticks below the market price, in other words, away from the current price. We're placing a lay bet. So if we go in and place a lay bet, what we're going to do is now place a lay bet at the current back price. So custom ticks below the best market price 1. And what that has the effect of doing is if something's trading at 2.02, it will place the lay bet at 2. If something's trading at 2.04, it will place it at 2.02. If it's at 175, it will place it at 174, and so on. So we're laying 1 tick below the current market price, in other words, at a price waiting for it to get filled. We're going to use a fixed amount. We're going to use a stake of £2 because we're experimenting and testing and formulating a strategy here. And what I'm going to do is say offset bet with greening. So in other words, we place the bet for £2 into the market, that order gets filled, and then the bet gets offset at a price that automatically spreads the profit across the entire book. And we're just going to go for a 1 tick offset here, nothing spectacular. And we're going to place a fill or kill order. In other words, we're going to say to it, place an order out of the money, hold it in the market for 15 seconds, and then get rid of the order if it hasn't filled within that time. And offset batches, we're going to say 1. This is basically when the order gets filled, offset it. So there we go. We've completed those particular parts of the function here. And what we need to do now is apply some conditions to it, because in its current form, what this will do is just trigger in bets one after another, and we don't want that. We want it to place a bet, and if that bet gets filled and the order completes, we want it to place another. If the order doesn't complete, we're just going to leave it and basically say that was a duff trade and we're not going to do any more. So the first thing that we need to do is apply a rule, or a condition I should say, to use the correct term. Number of selections condition. Sorry, not the number of selections, the number of unmatched bets is what we want to put in here. And the reason that I'm using unmatched bets is we're saying we want the number of unmatched bets to be less than 1. In other words, 0. So if there are no bets in the market, then place a bet. We could say unmatched bets are equal to 0. It's up to you how you want to do that, but basically they're exactly the same. So we've now applied that condition, and what we can do now is add another safeguard in here. So what we're going to do is add in a time since unmatched bet, and what this is doing is saying that here we go, unmatched bet time condition. I just clicked on the wrong one briefly there. This is saying the time since the market contains an unmatched bet is greater than 2 seconds. So this is another failsafe. This is saying if there are no bets in the market and the time since I had an unmatched bet was at least 2 seconds ago, and therefore it's safe to place another bet in. So this is just a catch-all to ensure that we don't place bets when existing bets are in the market. We don't double up on positions. So if I apply this now, that gets added to our general rule at the top here. And of course we're saying start at 2 minutes until 15 seconds, do it as many times as we can. But at that point we will have a profit or loss in the market, so we need to green out. So if I add another element to this particular rule, what we're going to do is call this close and hedge stroke green out. And this is a really simple function. We're just going to say green all selections. So at the point at which we reach this particular rule, it will basically green out. Now what I'm going to do here is, the previous rule went from 2 minutes to 15 seconds, and what we're going to do is we're going to give it 5 seconds, and then we're basically going to issue the green out command. And what we're going to do here as well is I'm going to issue 2 of them. So I'm going to say green out at 10 seconds, because it's not impossible that it goes to green out and the odds change at that exact moment. So we're going to put a failsafe in here by saying trigger twice and wait every 5 seconds. So it will trigger at 10 seconds and it will trigger at 5. And what this will mean is that it gets 2 opportunities to green out, because if it fails on the first green out, simply because the bet was unmatched for some reason, it will try again in 5 seconds time. Now you could actually do this at 15 seconds 3 times, but you'll have to be the judge on that based upon the market that you're active and in. So if we apply that rule now, we've applied the position to place a bet, we've applied the green out function as the market is about to get underway, and we just need to name and save this rule. So if I call this one Greybot, we can exit the editor now, and we can actually start to apply this to some markets, and that's what we'll do next. So we're on the Guardian screen here, and you can see that it's active on this particular market. One thing you may not know is that you can actually monitor Guardian and all of the activity in the market from within this particular area. So it tells you what activity is taking place, what is going on, what automation you have applied, how many times it's triggered, the matched bets, unmatched bets, and the activity in the underlying market as well. So that's something that you may be interested in, but you don't actually have to have Guardian open at all. It runs in the background. That's one of the clever things that we've done. You can actually get on with other stuff and not have Guardian running as a necessity. You can stick it into the background. But one thing you must do is you must apply automation rules to particular markets. So the way to do that is quite easy. If I just delete these markets above it, you can actually see how many Greyhound markets we've got. And the last one finishes at 10:30 this evening. There are tons and tons and tons. So we can selectively apply this rule to markets that we're interested in. So for example, if I go back to the odds section here, you could flick through and say, oh, this market's interesting, that one's interesting, this one isn't for this particular strategy, and apply different rules. So you could have different rules for different markets. Or you can be lazy and you can just go bang, apply all of these rules to one particular market. So if I select the rule I want and do that, then you can see it applies automatically to all the markets. So from this point on, what it will do is it will switch 3 minutes out, because we've said here 180 seconds, and then it will start springing to life straight away. So if I close down Guardian now, what we can do is sit, and you can just see here it said, would you like to save these markets? Well, yes, of course we would like to do that. Thank you for the reminder. It will be active on this next market about 3 minutes out. So all we can do now is sit and wait. I can't remember actually, when was that going off? 12:32. So yeah, in a few seconds time, just debating whether you want to watch 30 seconds of me rambling on. But what we can see in a second is that it will just flick over to the next market automatically, and we've just shut Guardian down, but it's still running in the background. So you can see there it's sprung to life. So what I'll do is I'll pause for a second on this video, although you won't see the pause obviously, and I'll return to it just as it's about to spring to life. Okay, I've joined this just a little bit after 2 minutes out. If I pop this up, I did intend joining it before, but I was too busy chatting to somebody on Skype. But what you can see here is that it's active and in the market and beginning to put bets through. What it's done is it's gone into the market and laid at 370. It's backed it at 375. That's still a little bit way out of the money on this particular occasion, and we've got to wait for that order to get matched for the automation on BetAngel to put another one in. So if the price reaches 375, that will get matched and another order will go in. But what you're seeing here as well is there's a really useful element to automation in that you can trigger bets from automation and then manage them yourself. So you saw us set it up in Guardian, that's running in the background. If we want to interact in this market, we can do so very easily. We're under no obligation just to sit here and watch positions go astray. We could proactively go into this market and modify elements of it, or cancel a bet when we don't like it, or scratch it, and do all these clever little things, and the automation will take care of the rest. So you can see here again it's placed an order at 385. it will hold it for 15 seconds. If it doesn't get filled, it will cancel it, but we can see, there's not much time left in this market, so we could cancel it ourselves. It's done that. It's put another bet in. It's trying to get filled at 4.1. If we cancel that, then it will wait a few seconds before placing another one. So you can see the interaction that you can have is as much or as little as you wish. And now it's coming up to 10 seconds. It will green out. There we go. And it will green out again after 5, but it doesn't need to do it on this occasion because everything was fine anyway. So you can see there how it did this automatically, how it switched to the market automatically, and how it performed all those functions automatically. And you can leave that in the background to do that all of the time if you want. Or you can be proactive and actually go into the market and modify elements as it's performing that function. But now that we've set that up, we can leave that and it will continue to trade away for the rest of the day. There's no need for us to do anything more on that. And that's why automations is useful, because whether you use it as a way of getting into the market, exiting a market automatically, or as something that you're going to use to trade fully automatically, it's a very powerful tool to use within BetAngel.